Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Talk Spicy. I'm Coach Gene Clemens. Thank you for joining me wherever you are joining me. Rate the show, comment, agree, disagree. But whatever you do, keep it spicy. 5-star ratings are appreciated. If you're joining me on the YouTube channel, make sure that you like. Make sure you subscribe. I just want to start off by saying congratulations to the Michigan Wolverines on their national championship. I am not one that subscribes to the let's hate on them because of some sign stealing, whatever have you. I think a lot of that is BS. A lot of it is hogwash. And at the end of the day, a guy like Jim Harbaugh, who's been out here championing the efforts to pay players. I'm not lost. It's not lost on me the fact that his team is the one that had to go through that sign stealing or whatever that's supposed to be. But now it's a great time. It's a great time for him to put his money where his mouth is, right? If you're going to sit back and say that you are all for players being paid and that you think players should be compensated and that, we should be in this together and blah, 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 and yakety schmackety, like that's cool. It's cool to say. But what are you doing, Jim Harbaugh? Like, are you just lending your voice to it, or are you actually going to do something about it? Like, it's no doubt about it that he is one of the greats, right? There's no doubt that he is one of the greats. But if you really are about what you say you are about, Jim Harbaugh, then prove it. Did you know, ladies and gentlemen, that Jim Harbaugh received $500,000 bonus just for making it to the Big Ten Conference Championship game? He then received another $1 million bonus for winning the Big Ten Championship game, right? So that is $1.5 million that he received for reaching and winning the Big Ten Championship game. I am 100% confident in saying that his assistant coaches probably got bonuses as well. Then he received another $500,000 for being selected to the college football playoff. Hey, by the way, if the Big Ten champion, if you win the Big Ten, you're almost guaranteed to make the college football playoff. So now that's $2 million for not winning a championship. Then he just got another $1 million for winning the championship. So that is $3 million that he has made in bonuses, right? So I have a handy calculator, right? I can do math. My phone has a calculator on it. I can do math. It's not really that difficult for me to do math when I'm looking at these things. So check it out. $3 million divided by 100. That's $30,000. Now, I don't know how many people are on the roster. I know how many scholarships they have. I know that they have walk-ons. That's why I just said 100. However, you can just go off of whomever is on the active roster. Who who are the people that are on the bus that are dressed for the games. Right? But if you really want to flex, right? If you really want to flex, Jim Harbaugh, take that $3 million and bust it down. You don't need it, right? You don't need it. Jim Harbaugh doesn't need that money. That extra $3 million, that's $3 million that he was not counting for in paying his bills. That was $3 million that he was not going to get to pay the bills. Right? Harbaugh makes $8 million, I believe. Right? He makes $8 million a year. So that $3 million ain't hurting. Bust it down, my guy. Stroke a check for everyone to get $30,000. No, it's not a lot, right? Or just take the people who are active in the game. So say that's 50 people. Bust that $3 million down. Give them all 60 grand. Boom. You want to know what type of legend you would become? Do you want to know what type of legend you would become in college football if you figured out a way to take your $3 million bonus, right? Bust it down and give it to the players. It would be over. Michigan's recruiting would go through the roof. The legend of Jim Harbaugh would grow exponentially more than it is right now. All would be right with the world. But he won't do that. He won't do that. You know why? Because there's only so far that some are willing to go to prove that they really are about what they say they are about. What Jim Harbaugh really wants is for Michigan to pay the players, for college football as a whole to pay the players. He doesn't want to have to pay the players himself. He doesn't really want to take a pay cut. He talked about it. I think in an interview, he said, hey, coaches and anybody that gains something, take like a 15% cut in order to, hey, Jim Harbaugh, this is your chance right now. Take that cut to prove you really are who you say you are, who I think you are. I love me some Jim Harbaugh. I love me some Jim Harbaugh. But now it's time to show and prove. So congratulations to Michigan and congratulations to Washington. Ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't already seen it, when I talk about how black quarterbacks are being evaluated, how they're being covered, Michael Penix Jr. did not have the greatest game last night. He did not have the greatest game versus the best defense in America. But he did not have the greatest game. He was off a little bit. He didn't get any help. He had big plays that were called back due to penalties. Right? They came up just short on a couple connections. He didn't get any help. But he didn't have the greatest game. And strictly off that one game, people have already reduced him back to a day 2, day 3 pick. People, before the game, people were talking about, hey, he might have been my favorite the entire time. After the game, after one bad game, after 2 years at Washington, where he has put up ridiculous numbers and elevated that team to a level they have never been in before. After that, now the conversation is, oh, well, whoever had him high. Oh, forget about him at 6 because he he can't handle pressure. Now all of a sudden he can't handle pressure. After staring down the barrel of the gun in several different avenues, in many different places, now all of a sudden Michael Penix can't handle pressure. Somebody make it make sense. But this is the plight of the black quarterback. This is what I've talked about. This is what I've leaned on. You have to be perfect all the time in order to avoid scrutiny or issues when you're black playing a position. It's just different. And if you don't believe me, it's okay. You just don't understand. That's all right. I'm not playing any card. Just look at the history. Lamar Jackson still has people questioning him. You know, I was listening to the Rich Eisen podcast, or the Rich Eisen show, which I love Rich Eisen. But Rich Eisen was saying that he was hearing that one of the reasons why, amongst the fact that, beyond the fact that everybody thought that the Ravens were trying to get other teams to negotiate their contract for them, one of the reasons why no team, not one, not anyone, we've seen how many bad teams there are in the NFL that if they had a Lamar Jackson would not be bad, and how many good teams that if they had a Lamar Jackson might be championship caliber. Why nobody, not one of them, not one, said, hey, we're going to make Baltimore prove they're willing to let him go. He said that what he was hearing from his sources was that people questioned Lamar's eating habits. His eating habits. That they questioned his dedication to the game. Lamar Jackson, whom we've never heard anything about dedication issues, that's what he was saying he heard. And somehow I went, ta-da. And now even on the brink of a second MVP trophy that should be unanimous, but won't be, because some won't want that on his ledger. We still got people out here talking about Josh Allen after watching Josh Allen turn the ball over 3 times and his team win in spite of what he did. And after the game, all of the cameras are on Josh Allen as if, yes, he had 300 and something yards, but he threw 2 picks, crucial picks, and he fumbled the ball away. He is the next evolution of what people believe Jameis Winston to be. And yet, Jameis Winston was vilified and told he could not play the game anymore because of all the interceptions and because of all the turnovers that he had, even though he was throwing for 5,000 yards and over 30 touchdowns. Right? That brings me to my guy, Shay Sharpe. I believe this to be true, and I believe this to be true, and I definitely think that this applies to Sharpe. If you live long enough, you'll see your heroes become your villains. Uncle Sharpe, you don't have to do this anymore, man. I'm talking to Shannon Sharpe, and I know there's a good chance he might never see this. But on the off chance that you do, my guy, one of my idols, one of the legends, one of the people that I grew up rooting for. I was a Sharpe fanatic. Sterling Sharpe as a wide receiver, Shannon Sharpe as the new age tight end. I was all about him. You don't have to do this anymore, man. But because you've already won. You've already won. The moment that you had Club Shay Shay go 25 million stupid in a couple days, you had already won. Before that, when you left First Take, when you left Undisputed, after making Undisputed what it is, leaving Skip Bayless in a situation where he had to take a month off, maybe more, to reconfigure and figure it out because he couldn't do the job without you, you had already won. The moment you made it out of where you came from, you had already won. The moment you stuck in the league, won championships, you had already won. You don't have to do this, man. See, because I see the change, I see the turn, right? I remember back when you were authentically you on the nationally syndicated broadcast, when Shannon Sharpe wasn't afraid to speak his mind, when Shannon Sharpe took offense to Bill Belichick after the Super Bowl when they lost, not wanting to face the media and answer questions the right way. I remember when you were unceremoniously let go of that position, when you wallowed around in anonymity for years until you landed that job with Skip Bayless. And when you landed that job with Skip Bayless, you said, man, I'm going to do what I got to do to be successful. So you put your hat in your hand and you started dancing. You put your hat in your hand and you started doing what they asked you to do. You started dancing. You started shoe shining. It was sad to watch as you looked for the approval of Skip Bayless at every single move, because you knew he could end you like that. But you were still you, and your personality is still undeniable, and your reach and the people who love you for being authentically you was still there, and you started to find your voice. And when Skip Bayless decided to question you and who you are and your abilities and how comfortable you are with being who you are, because you were critical of Tom Brady, saying that you were jealous of him when you're a Hall of Famer, you broke out of that sunken place. You broke out of that sunken place. You could tell that was the straw that broke the camel's back. All of the rest of it was window dressing, my guy. I knew at that point you were done and that you were going to make a move. You started to put more emphasis into the club. In my mind, when you left Skip Bayless, you never needed to go to ESPN. You had your own platform where you could do the content that you wanted to do in the way that you wanted to do it. Right? And just live comfortably, my guy. You've already won. But you needed the approval. And it's not our approval that you needed. It's not the coach's approval that you needed. It's their approval. So you went on back over to where you was comfortable at. You went back in the house. You went back in the house, started talking a little bit sweeter, but in the house, there's others in there that look like you, so you feel a little bit more comfortable. But you can't help yourself because you can't be down with us exclusively. You need their approval as well. Right? You can have their respect without having to seek the pat on the head. You could have their admiration without having to be their avatar. You can have their loyalty, or at least their understanding of your worth, because that's a better description than loyalty. You can have their understanding of your worth without you having to step and run their agendas. So how sad was it for me to sit up here and listen to you after what you did in setting the internet on fire with that Cat Williams interview, after showing, after saying what you said and doing what you did on the club, on Club Shay Shay, I just could not believe. I just could not believe that this is what you did. That you decided that I'm going to look at this situation in New Orleans, not even try to understand the side that the players were coming from. I am literally just going to admonish and lay a flamethrower to one person. To one person. I couldn't believe it. Ladies and gentlemen, on Sunday, the New Orleans Saints, the last play of the game, were in victory formation. They ran a play that got their running back, Jamal Williams, his first and only touchdown of the season. This is a Jamal Williams that came to New Orleans after being with Detroit, where he was the league leader in touchdown and rushing touchdowns. But in New Orleans, for whatever reason you want to give for Jamal Williams being the leader, right? Oh, well, he was a goal line. Okay, well, he was effective. So if you have an effective goal line runner, when you get close to the goal line, why is it always Taysom Hill? Why is it always Derek Carr? So the Saints, as a team, decided we're not taking a knee on the 1 yard line. We're going to get Jamal a touchdown. Jamal was with it. They were with it. The coach told him to take the knee. They said, nah, we're going to run this thing in for a touchdown. Now, Jameis Winston, after the game, like leaders do, was the mouthpiece for the team. He said, we as a team made a decision that we wanted our brother to score a touchdown. We as a team wanted our brother to score a touchdown. Writers were pushing back. People who had never played football already saying that he was wrong. He kept emphasizing we as a team did this. You saw on social media several members of the team come out and say, yeah, that's my guy. That's my guy. But he took it because he knows they were going to receive backlash for it. You know what he said? I'll be the face. Put it on me because that's what leaders do. Right? When you make a decision as a group, somebody normally steps up and says, hey, listen, I'm going to lead the group. That's Jameis Winston. They got Jamal Williams, a guy who went from, I believe it was 15 rushing touchdowns last year, maybe more, to 0 on a team that desperately needed goal line rushing. It wasn't like he would have been like doing something that they didn't need or they didn't have. Like they needed him to score these points. They needed him in the goal line. They were horrible. They were horrible. What are we talking about here? And so now, with everything going on, my guy, Uncle Shay came out and said this yesterday. And I want to make sure you guys can hear it so that you hear what he said and not have it coming from me as a quote.
But I'll say this. I would cut Jameis Winston today. I would not want him on my team. That's loser's mentality. And people will say, well, Shannon, what about when Dan Marino fake spiked the ball or Peyton Manning? They were not in victory formation. If you get down, the defense is conceding. If you want to run the ball, let the defense line up. Don't you fool them, think there's a victory formation, and then drive off the ball. You mean to tell me that's going rogue? Dennis Allen's going to probably have to go because his players have no respect for him. Right. He said they sent victory formation in, but
that's right.
We made a decision. I'm sorry, Molly. I would cut Jameis Winston today. If I'd been on that team, let me tell you what, I'd have jumped off sides on purpose. There's a mentality that you got to have if you want to play winning football. Jameis Winston has a loser's mentality. That's why they didn't win in Tampa. That's why Tom Brady came there, took the same team, and went to the Super Bowl. Look at what Baker Mayfield did with basically the same team, got him in the playoffs, something that Jameis Winston couldn't
do. Do me a favor. Say that one more time on camera, what you would do.
I would cut him. I would cut Jameis Winston today.
Molly Karam, shout out to Molly because I don't always necessarily rock with Molly, but shout out to Molly for allowing Shannon to just like re-emphasize what he said, to like make sure that it was clear what he was saying. So he's ready to cut Jameis Winston. He would cut Jameis Winston. And then he said, and I think this is actually more damning than he would cut Jameis Winston, that if they decided to do that as a team, that he would have jumped off sides. That he would have jumped off sides in order to stop them from doing it. So if in the huddle, they said, hey, yo, man, forget that. We getting our guy Jamal a touchdown. He would have been like, nah, I'm going to jump off sides on purpose so that you don't get Jamal Williams a touchdown. Hey, you already won, man. You've won. You don't need to do this anymore. You don't need to do this anymore. You don't have to say what's going to make them love you anymore. You don't have to get a job well done from them, an attaboy from them, because nobody else is rocking with you who looks like Jameis Winston. When you look up and you're the only one on the side that looks like you, you're probably on the wrong side. Right? That's when you know there's a difference. That's when you understand there's a difference. When you look up and everybody on that side looks, acts nothing like you. When you have nothing in common with the people on that side other than maybe some money, a residence, but when their actions, when their looks don't match yours at all, that's when you know you're on the wrong side. You don't have to do this. We love you. We admire what you do. We were celebrating you. You don't need that. And furthermore, you don't need to go down this road you're going, which is the I'm going to be a mixture between the messy toxic stuff but I'm a former. No, you can be you can have integrity. Hey, look, this would have been completely okay to say, hey, listen, I ain't really like it because if you want to score a touchdown, if you want to get your guy a touchdown, just line up and score the and go for the touchdown. I didn't like that. But to say you would have went against your teammates in order to appease the coach that has not only ruined the player's season in his thought process, ruined that quarterback's perception, and ruined your season by not playing people who are going to get you more wins. By playing inferior people in positions, he has run that New Orleans Saints team into the ground. He has never been fit to be a head coach. He's never been fit to be a head coach. He's always been a better coordinator than a head coach. And yet, that's who you're willing to side with. That's who you're going to go with. You're going to actively go against the teammates that you have to spend your time in the locker room? For what? For who? Dennis Allen may not even be there next year. And then to essentially call Jameis Winston out on it and call him a loser, man, you just burnt up all the equity. We'll get over it because we're forgiving people, right? That's the thing about us. We'll get over it because we're a loving, forgiving people. But man, you don't have to do this. You've already won. Comparing the team that Jameis Winston had to the team that Tom Brady had is laughable. You want to know why? I'll tell you why. Check this out. When Tom Brady took over, they improved the offensive line. What was the number one issue with the offense when Jameis Winston was there? Super leaky. When Tom Brady took over, they tried to do the exact same play calling that they were doing at the beginning of the year. They had to stop. You know why? It wasn't going to work for Tom Brady. He was going to get killed doing that. They made offensive line improvements. They drafted him. They drafted a right tackle, right? They added a center. Offensive line improvements. Scheme improvements. Right? Scheme improvements. Hey, let's incorporate more of what Tom Brady is comfortable doing so that he can have more success. What's that? Leaving people in, a lot more play action, running the ball, play action, drop it down, dunk, 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 take the shot over the top. Guess who that also like works with really well? Jameis Winston. That year was marred by the fact that the Buccaneers, I'm talking about Jameis Winston's last year, was marred by the fact that the Buccaneers were in really close, competing in every single game they were in. But on top of the fact that Jameis Winston turned the ball over a lot, that defense couldn't stop water from running. One of the worst defenses in the National Football League. Halfway through that season, that defense was still bad. It wasn't until the end of the year, into the playoffs, that the defense all of a sudden came alive. Very similar to what the Colts defense did the year that Peyton Manning won it with the Colts. That team had a better tight end on it. They went out and added Antonio Bryant. Like, what are we talking? It's not the same team. It's not the same team. The team is not the same team with Baker Mayfield. But if we want to play that game, you really want to sit here and tell me that in this division, how good this division is right now, that Jameis Winston team would not have squeaked in and backdoored their way into a championship, into an NFC South championship? Your argument, your reason for talking down to Jameis Winston is Baker Mayfield, who, by the way, after he flamed out in the Browns, got a chance with Carolina to start, got a chance with the Rams to start, and then got a chance in Tampa Bay to start. Jameis Winston got a chance, broke his back, still tried to play, got benched, and when he was healthy, they said, nah, we're going to keep the mediocre quarterback out there and let him rock. Then in the offseason, signed the exact same younger version of that mediocre quarterback for their team. That's who you're defending. This Jameis Winston, who you've never heard one teammate say anything bad about. The same Jameis Winston that you've heard from, who at every turn has never pointed blame at anyone else, has always taken accountability. That same Jameis Winston that took a college team to back-to-back national championships. That's the loser? That's the guy with a loser's mentality? The Jameis Winston that could throw an interception? The same Jameis Winston that could throw an interception, come back the next play, and throw a touchdown. That's the loser? That's him. That's what it looks like. He's the poster child for that. Yo, Unc, you don't have to do this. I grew up admiring you. I admire you today. I applaud what you're able to do. I think you got to be careful. You don't need your show to turn. It's starting to sound very gossip show-like. You took the Cat Williams interview. By the time you dropped it, it was clipped up into 1 million different clips. All of those clips are going ham. You made other people chime in on it, their take on it, their content's going ham. You and Ocho talking about it. That information goes ham. But you do an interview show. You do an interview show. And at some point, you're going to either run out of people in interview, or you're going to start seeking out people who are going to give you those salacious, those hot, the tea. You're going to start seeking out those people because you know that's what gets it hot. That's where the algorithm is going to jump in for you at. And now all of a sudden, you're not Shay Sharpe anymore. You're not Unc anymore. Now you're the person, you're Wendy Williams. I don't know if that's who you really want to be. And if it is, I apologize. If this is who you want to be, if this is the guy, then my apologies, big dog. My apologies. But you don't have to do this. You've already won. You've already won. And until you realize it, and until we realize that you're using us to then just go right back to them and give them what they're looking for, neither one of us is going to get out of this circle. The audacity of you to talk down to Jameis Winston like that, as if he broke a law, as if he is a horrible person. Every single teammate has come out and said, yo, that's my guy. He said it was a team decision. The team has said it was a team decision. Are they all losers? What about Williams? Is he a loser? Because what should he have done? Grabbed the ball and fell down because he didn't want to get a touchdown that way? He came out and said that he really appreciated his teammates having his back. I remember hearing about you in the locker room and how tight you guys were and how you had it all together. So to now hear you say that you would have went against the team for a coach after saying, oh, well, the coach has to go because clearly the team doesn't respect him. Why do they not respect him, Shannon Sharpe? That's the better debate topic. That's the better question. Hey, why did these players feel the need to go against what their head coach said in a blowout game where they already knew they weren't going to the playoffs? That would tell you everything. But keep doing you. Keep doing you, Unc. I'll be honest with you. I don't even watch your Club Shay Shay stuff. I watched the Cat Williams interview. Why? Because I love Cat Williams. Why? Because he has always kept it a buck for his people. For the people who rock with him and the people who love and respect him for who he is, he's always kept it a buck. And that's why afterwards, you see a lot of receipts on the stuff that he's saying. People reacted quickly, yet didn't say anything. You got my attention, and I'm just one man. I'm an insignificant voice in this space, but you have my attention because I believe in the guys that I held up as heroes. I believe in them and the power that their voices have. And I believe that you have a voice that could be a disruptor in this space. You can either be Anakin Skywalker or you can be Darth Vader. You have the choice. We'll see what you do with it.